A wedding letter from a future icon, a walk down the aisle led by history itself, and a family heirloom now carrying global weight. The guest explains that her grandmother, Julia Scott Dick, later MacDonald, once served as Gandhi's first secretary in Johannesburg.
It's a handwritten letter from M.K. Gandhi to my grandmother. When she was working for him, she was Julia Scott Dick, and then she married Archibald MacDonald, so she became Julia Scott Dick MacDonald.
And she's actually referenced in Gandhi's autobiography in the section that he writes about his years in Johannesburg.
Yes, he talks about her for a page or so, about how she was his first secretary, and he talks about her very nicely, even in his autobiography.
What's presented are two handwritten letters from M.K. Gandhi, composed decades before the world would come to know him as Mahatma.
It's really a critical period in his life.
Yes.
Long before he became the Mahatma Gandhi that we know, but the young man who was developing his philosophy. And you have his letter to her, essentially saying goodbye to her.
One is a deeply personal farewell, written on November 5th, 1904, on the occasion of her wedding to the man Gandhi would call my gains loss. He walked her down the aisle, signing the letter, "With a brother's love, M.K. Gandhi," a phrase revealing the warmth behind the reverence.
Dear Mrs. MacDonald, may I ask your acceptance of the accompanying as a small wedding present from me? I feel that my loss is Mr. MacDonald's gain. With a brother's love, M.K. Gandhi.
The second is a letter of recommendation, quiet, formal, yet affirming a woman's valued role during the formative years of Gandhi's philosophy. Both letters predate his rise as a global figure, but they speak volumes about the relationships and convictions that shaped him. Julia is even mentioned in his autobiography, proof of how much their bond meant to him during his time in South Africa. The letters remained in the family for generations, and while others may exist, these two hold a complete emotional and historical arc.
Do more letters exist?
I think they do. I have to get in touch with my cousins because I think there may be more letters, which now has got me interested into finding.
Though the guest has no intention of selling, the letters are appraised as a single unit to preserve their intertwined narrative. At auction, these early echoes of Gandhi's heart would be worth an estimated value of,
I would be very comfortable saying $20,000 on the two.
Okay, thank you.
My pleasure.
Wonderful. Lovely. Well, thank you, and thank you from my grandmother.
11 rings, a backstage role, and a front row seat to one of the greatest dynasties in all of sports. The guest explains she began working with coach Gino Auriemma in 1994 and has been part of every championship since.
I started working for the best coach in the country in 1994, and because of that, I have been along for the ride with his success, and I have 11 national championship rings from the UConn women's basketball program.
Presented is a complete set of 11 UConn women's basketball national championship rings, each marking a chapter in collegiate greatness. From the first title in 1995 with Rebecca Lobo to the Breanna Stewart-led four-peat ending in 2016, each ring tells a story of dominance. Names like Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi, Maya Moore, and Tina Charles shine as brightly as the diamonds set into the bands themselves.
The first national championship was my very first year there. That's 1995, and that was the Rebecca Lobo, Pam Weber era. And then in 2000 was when Svetlana Brosimova played with us, and Shea Ralph, who's now the head coach of Vanderbilt. And then we move into the Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi era. From there, it's the 09 and the 10 championship, and that was Maya Moore, Tina Charles, Renee Montgomery. And then the last four were consecutive, and that senior class that won that fourth consecutive in 2016, that's unprecedented. No other college athlete in the sport of basketball has won four, and that was Breanna Stewart, Morgan Tuck, and Mariah Jefferson.
While the players took the court, she orchestrated the rhythm behind the scenes, travel, schedules, logistics, keeping the program running like clockwork.
You're part of one of the greatest dynasties in sports history, period. And certainly one of the most important contemporary dynasties, and had such an incredible influence on so many people. And the popularity of women's basketball, primarily because of just how incredibly successful this program has been.
She is one of only 3 people alive, alongside Auriemma and associate head coach Chris Daly, to hold all 11 rings. Individually, each ring could fetch $3,000 to $4,000, prized by fans and collectors alike. But together, they become far more than jewelry. They are the physical legacy of a dynasty still in motion. The complete set, with unmatched provenance and historical weight, is valued far beyond its parts. For insurance purposes, this rare and iconic collection is worth at least.
This is so special and so important. I'd insure it for $100,000. No question about it.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for bringing it in. It's so cool. I know people out there are like, wow, nobody gets to see something like this. Really
Thank you very much.
An estate sale impulse, a hidden signature revealed decades later, and a sculpture carved by one of the great female artists of modernism. The guest explains she bought the piece 30 years ago, only discovering 3 years back that it was signed by Chana Orloff.
It was about 30 years ago.
Did you know who the artist was when you bought it?
No, I didn't. 3 years ago, we found the signature in the back and the date. She's a Jewish sculptress. Her name is Chana Orloff, and she was born in 1888 and passed away in 1968. And that's as much as I know, yeah.
Okay, well, that's a good amount. Her name is actually pronounced Chana Orloff.
Chana Orloff.
Yeah.
Born in 1888 in what is now Ukraine, Orloff fled to Palestine in 1905, later rising to fame in the Parisian art world. She began with needlework, but turned to sculpture, creating portraits of icons like Matisse and Picasso while carving out her own distinct legacy. This piece, dated 1925, is carved from pink-veined marble, a medium known for its beauty and its brutal difficulty.
This is carved marble, and you can imagine how difficult it is to carve.
Yeah.
She had a chisel and a hammer, and very, very intensive work that's involved. It's made out of this wonderful marble that has sort of a pinkish cast to it, and it's a natural material.
Orloff's mastery shows in the contrast between the rough-hewn stone and the smooth, expressive features of the figure emerging from it. The hair is textured, the marble left raw in places, giving the work a sense of becoming of life breaking free from form. Unlike her bronze works, which were often replicated posthumously, this marble original is indisputably authentic.
It's signed Chana Orloff, and it's dated 1925. She made quite a number of these. She also had them cast in bronze. And the problem with the bronze is that many were done under her auspices, but many were done posthumously and unauthorized.
Right.
So there are issues with her work. There's no question that it's an original piece.
The subject is none other than Cecile de Brunhoff, whose bedtime tales for her sons birthed the beloved Babar the elephant.
Who is this woman? There's something that's called a catalogue raisonné that shows the works of artists. And on page 222, I found this illustrated. And it said, this is a portrait of Cecile de Brunhoff.
Oh.
She had 2 children, and she made up stories for the children. And one of the stories was about a little elephant. And it's the book that became Babar.
Oh, yes, yes.
So the piece holds not just artistic merit, but a charming literary connection that deepens its emotional and cultural value. In today's gallery market, this signed original by Chana Orloff would be valued between...
In a gallery, I would put it in the $30,000 to $50,000 range.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
A childhood memory, a family letter, and a royal connection to the last queen of Hawaii. The guest shares that her grandmother's gold bracelets, once dubbed Shazam bracelets in play, were gifted to her after her passing.
These bracelets were given to me after my grandmother died. I do remember them as a child. She would take them out and we would play with them. We called them Shazam bracelets. But after she died, I was given a letter that said these bracelets were given to my grandmother by my grandmother's aunt, who was a friend of the last queen of Hawaii.
Accompanied by documents and letters, the bracelets trace back to the guest's great-great-aunt, who was said to be a friend of Queen Liliuokalani. The queen, Hawaii's last reigning monarch, ruled from 1891 until the islands were overthrown just 2 years later. Historical records confirm she traveled through the U.S. including Boston, where the guest's family talented musicians may have crossed her path.
My grandmother's mother was a harpist. The other two sisters were musicians at some sort of event in Boston.
Dated to the 1870s, these bracelets bear the patent 1870 mark, likely American-made and crafted during the peak of Victorian jewelry design.
These are probably American. There is no real maker's mark, but it does say patent 1870 on the clasp. And these patents were done quite a bit for jewelry mechanisms around that time period. That was an American thing.
They feature fine tassel work, warm high-carat gold, and an untouched patina, a sign of age and authenticity, best left undisturbed. Though hollow, they remain free of dents, a rarity for jewelry of this period in construction. Even more remarkable, the pair remains intact. Many like them were long ago separated or melted down.
They have a few little surface scratches, but they're not dented, and these are hollow. They're in great shape. And a lot of times these are broken up. So to have them as a pair together in very good condition is really unusual.
Queen Liliuokalani was often photographed wearing similar stacked bangles, lending further weight to the oral history behind these. With supporting documentation and appeal to Hawaiian collectors, these heirlooms carry both emotional and historical depth. For insurance purposes, the pair is valued at an estimated,
You'd be looking at anywhere between $10,000 and $12,000 for the pair.
Okay.
a childhood gift, a father's love, and a guitar that launched a lifetime of music. The guest recalls his father buying the instrument in 1953 when he was just 10 years old, and it became the guitar he learned to play on.
Around 10 years old, my father bought it in 1953 for me. And I've had that ever since. It's what I learned how to play on.
A vintage photograph captures a moment from those early days. Father, teacher, and son, bonded by strings and rhythm.
I was on the road for a few years with a few bands. And now I'm here.
Yeah.
The guitar, a custom archtop crafted by the legendary John D'Angelico, shows honest wear from decades of performance and touring. Included is the original handwritten sales receipt, signed by D'Angelico himself, pricing it at $325, a fortune at the time, and a bargain in hindsight. This piece boasts a medium neck, a rich dark finish, and once held a pickup before the pickguard gave way to age. D'Angelico, born in New York City, began apprenticing at 9 under his violin-making uncle, eventually becoming the most revered archtop guitar builder in history. He opened his own shop in 1932 and crafted each guitar by hand, with unmatched detail and tone. The guest's guitar was made during D'Angelico's golden period, and everything about it from wood to workmanship speaks to its pedigree.
Everything about this guitar was top of the line. And John D'Angelico is, by acclaim, the greatest archtop guitar maker ever. And I see your father is playing a D'Angelico guitar as well.
Even the guest's father owned a D'Angelico, a testament to the family's deep appreciation for quality and sound. Today, this treasured instrument, steeped in both personal and musical legacy, would retail for,
At a vintage guitar shop, would sell in the range of $30,000 to $35,000 at retail.
Yeah.
Would you mind playing it a little bit for me to let us hear it?
An heirloom passed quietly through generations, turns out to be one of Western printmaking's earliest building blocks. The guest inherited this engraving from their parents, who had it appraised decades ago, never suspecting its full significance.
I got it from my parents. My mother got it from her mother, who passed away in 1944. Her father passed away in 1931, so I'm not sure exactly when it was purchased. I'm guessing sometime early 40s, possibly, from a gallery in New York City.
The piece is the work of Martin Schongauer, a 15th century German master and the first Western artist whose life we can trace in detail. With his initials M.S. engraved into the plate, Schongauer established the visual grammar on which Dürer, Rembrandt, Goya, even Warhol would later build.
Schongauer was the first, most famous Western artist who did engravings. He's the first artist to come down to us with a more or less full biography. We know his name, we know where he worked, where he went to school, and it was on his work, his body of approximately 115 different engravings that he made over the course of a 30-year career, that sort of Western printmaking was built. He's that foundational of a figure.
He lived in Colmar, a vibrant publishing center near southern Germany, and likely learned engraving from his father, a metalsmith. This engraving depicts St. Lawrence, a Christian martyr of the 3rd century, identified by his palm frond and the grill upon which he was burned.
We know the subject here is St. Lawrence, who was a 3rd century Christian cleric that fell afoul of the Roman leadership and was martyred. And he's holding the palm frond of the martyr, and we see this grill here. He was actually burned on the grill, and that's how he was martyred.
The composition's stark restraint and stylistic cues suggest it was made in the final years of Schongauer's career, sometime in the 1480s. Despite lacking a printed date, the paper bears a rare watermark, authenticating it as an original lifetime impression. While many of his prints were copied and counterfeited, this one remains untouched, genuine, and unaltered. Incredibly, no other impression of this exact subject has surfaced at auction in over 40 years. Preserved in excellent condition for nearly 550 years, it's an artifact of both art and endurance. Today, its conservative auction value stands between
Auction value on this at between $40,000 and $60,000.
I'm speechless.
A family dining room centerpiece, passed down with a hazy tale of student gifts and university ties, turns out to be a quietly monumental work of American art. The guest believes the painting was either gifted to their aunt or bought from a student at the University of Hartford, and it's adorned their family wall for 25 years.
There's been a lot of family folklore about the painting. We had an aunt that worked at the University of Hartford, and it was heard that one of her students gifted it to her. But we're not 100% of that is sure, or if the painting she actually purchased from the student.
I see.
But I do know it's been in the family for the past 25 years, hanging in the dining room.
The piece is by Charles Ethan Porter, a pioneering African-American painter born just before or after 1847 in a world still shaking from the Civil War.
Slavery was just ended with the passage of the 13th Amendment, and Civil War just ended a little bit before that. And of course, the prevailing attitude at the time was that quote-unquote Negroes weren't really capable of producing art. So he's painting at a time when there was so many obstacles in his way. But he's got a lot of firsts. It's believed that he's the first African-American artist to be trained at the National Academy of Design in New York, and they exhibited his work on top of that.
Despite immense social odds, Porter became the first black artist known to study at the National Academy of Design and to be exhibited there. Backed by prominent Hartford figures like Mark Twain and Harriet Beecher Stowe, Porter trained first in New York, then made the bold leap to study in Paris in 1881. This particular oil painting likely dates between 1875 and 1879, a rich period between his New York studies and his European journey. The subject is classic Porter, a still life with a suspended apple that holds your eye, signed confidently, C. E. Porter in the top left. His talent lies in subtle drama, how fruit becomes luminous, how quiet composition becomes magnetic. Though often overlooked, Porter's legacy now echoes through museums and serious collections of American art. In excellent condition and representative of his finest pre-Paris period, this painting holds more than just aesthetic value. It's a testament to defiant talent in an era of systemic doubt. At retail today, this magnificent piece of art would be valued at an estimated market value of about...
At retail, I think I would put a price of around $25,000 on it.
Really?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that is fantastic.
Yes, yes.
I have goosebumps. Being a Hartford artist, I'm just taken back.